is good, everybody? It is your girl Nia, the video game her, and I am going to be talking about everything Nintendo Switch 2 up to this point. As I am recording this, today is April the 5th, 2025. So we're about 3 days removed now from the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation. Every time I come to you guys, I feel like I have to explain why I've been gone for so long. Well, of course, as always, life stuff, my job. So those of you guys who have been following me for a long time, you know that I'm a teacher, and being a teacher is basically like having 3 jobs. And I'm also a full-time auntie now. My niece and my nephew have been living with me since December, and they are taking over my game room. That is where they sleep. So that means that even if I wanted to hop on for a quick live stream, I would have to navigate working around all of their things that they have here in my home. And right now my game room just doesn't look like a game room. So hopefully during the summertime, they're able to go back home and I'll be able to have my game room to myself. I'll be able to make it look nice and pretty. Like my goal, I started last summer making my home more homey. I redid my living room. I redid my dining room. I'm in the process of still redoing my bedroom, my bathroom, etc. So anyway, I really want to do my entire apartment, and then my game room was on the list. I want to make it look, techie, cool, gamery, like a lot of the other people's gaming rooms looks like, But anyway, and anyhow, so yeah, life is lifing, and I wish that I could make content the way that I used to. And I know that you guys are always asking me for my opinions on things, and I just honestly, my life is just not built like that anymore. I'm an older person now. I have more responsibilities now, and unfortunately, I just don't really have the time that I used to have. But anyways, and anyhow, let's go ahead and get started on the Nintendo Switch 2 conversation. So I will just kind of briefly go over some of the things that I noticed about the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct itself, like the games that it showed, the specifications that they announced, and I will also talk about the features, my hopes and my dreams for what I would have liked to see, and then overall my thoughts about the presentation itself. Then I would like to go into the pricing and the reception from the public. I would also like to talk about a lot of the misinformation that I've been seeing online due to poor messaging, in my opinion, on Nintendo's half, as a result of omitting certain things from the presentation itself. And then, unfortunately, at the end of this conversation, I would like to talk about some things that are currently happening in the political climate that are trickling its way down to the video game market. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about the games themselves. Okay, so when the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation began, they opened up with Mario Kart World, which is an open world Mario Kart. There's new worlds. The game has dynamic weather. Like, overall, the game looks absolutely fantastic. It is going to be a launch day game with the Nintendo Switch 2. They also talked about a tutorial game called Welcome Tour, which honestly should be a pack-in. We would not be buying that, right? We would not be buying that. Especially when it's literally just a virtual tour of the Nintendo Switch 2. Like, no ma'am. Nintendo, no ma'am, girl. No ma'am, no ma'am. Don't hide behind your purse, girl. We can see you. No ma'am. That should have been a pack-in. It ain't even like a game for real, like an Astrobot or anything like that. Like, no thank you. They talked about Mario Party Jamboree, and honestly, I really did like what I saw from Mario Party Jamboree. I've been seeing a lot of discourse online talking about how Nintendo isn't quirky anymore and they don't do the Nintendo things anymore. But honestly, if you want that Nintendo quirk, you have to go to Mario Party for it. I already have Mario Party Jamboree, so I'll only have to get the upgrade pack when eventually that's available for us. My niece loves Mario Party. My niece loves to play Mario Party with me. We love to play Mario Party together, And because of my niece, I have a strong feeling that I will be getting that upgrade pack, and we will be playing the new content that uses the Nintendo Switch camera and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you want goofy, quirky, silly Nintendo, you're gonna get it in Mario Party. They also talked about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and how those games are getting Nintendo Switch 2 editions, which would bump up their resolution and their frame rate, which is like, thank God. Like, let me tell you something about me. I am not a graphics girly, but I definitely like me a game that runs well. Now, don't get me wrong, I have played games before that weren't exactly the most optimized. I have struggled through certain games, which one of them I'm going to talk about towards the end of this segment. But of course, I'm a big Zelda fan, so I would fight through the frame issues on Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And knowing that this game is going to get a 60 frames per second update makes me very, very happy. I don't think that I'm going to go back through these games and play them from start to finish again. But I might, kind of go around, run around the world, do some little side things that maybe I didn't do the first time, just to check it out and see what the quality is like. Also, Metroid Prime 4 is getting two modes. It's getting a performance mode and it's getting a quality mode. So the quality mode is The quality mode is 4K resolution, 60 frames per second, and the performance mode is 1080p, 120 frames per second. Like, y'all don't understand. Metroid Prime 4 at 120 frames is about to go crazy. Out of all of the games Nintendo talked about for this presentation, Metroid Prime 4 is the one that I'm looking forward to the most because of the 120 frames. Like, I think, like, the last time that I actually, purposefully played a game at like 120 frames or around that ballpark was when I was heavy into Paladins on PC some years ago. Like, that game went crazy. But, in my older age, I don't really play games like that anymore. I kind of slowed down a little bit in these today's times. But, that's going to go crazy. And it made me think about whether or not Metroid Dread is going to get a Nintendo Switch version, because that game would go absolutely crazy with the extra power of the Nintendo Switch 2. Another game that they showed that is also a Nintendo Switch OG game, but will also be bumped up for the Nintendo Switch 2 is Pokemon ZA. Y'all don't kill me in the chat. I still think Pokemon is an ugly game, bro. Like I said, I'm not a graphics whore, but like the textures in the Pokemon games on the Nintendo Switch are literally just like a PNG in the background. When are we going to admit that Game Freak just don't have the sauce? I'm sorry, Game Freak, they just don't have the sauce. We need to just be honest with ourselves. That studio needs more talent. Or the Pokemon Company and Nintendo need to start giving these people more time. I feel like the way that the Call of Duty games are set up, where there's 3 developers making games and they all take turns releasing a yearly release, Game Freak, y'all might need to do something like that, because like, girl, what? No ma'am. Okay, anyway, not too much of that, because I know there's a lot of Pokemon fans out there and I'm not trying to get doxxed or whatever. So another game that they showed was this game called Dragon Drive. Dragon Drive is a game that's supposed to kind of drive home the whole mouse mode thing in the Joy-Con 2s. And honestly, I'm just not interested. Unless some Nintendo or some third-party maker makes some type of peripheral that makes mouse mode feel more like an actual mouse, I just don't care. I do not care about mouse mode. But in addition to all of those Nintendo Switch version games that I mentioned before, there are also going to be some Nintendo Switch 2 games that are going to receive free updates. Some of those games are ARMS, Captain Code Treasure Tracker, Super Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, and Echoes of Wisdom, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, etc. I also want to point out that I took it upon myself to go and read those Ask the Developer interviews. And one of the things that one of the developers mentioned is that every Nintendo Switch 2 is going to get a bump on the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm sorry, every Nintendo Switch OG game is going to get a bump on Nintendo Switch 2. So even if you don't buy any of the upgrade packs, your games that you put into your Nintendo Switch 2 system will have a performance bump, a visual bump. But if you want the premium experience, 4K 60, 1080, 120 frames, you're going to have to purchase the upgrade pack unless you have NSO. There are certain games that are going to be have an upgrade pack at no additional cost that you can get through NSO if you're a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber. So now let's talk about some third-party games, because honestly, Nintendo didn't really talk a whole lot about first-party on this show, which is fine. I understand that for something like this, they really want to appeal to a broader audience. They already know that they have the Miis. They already have me. They already have the Keith Norrises of the world. They already have the Levelheads of the world, you know? They already have me. But they're really, trying to capture a different type of audience with the Nintendo Switch 2. And honestly, I think they did that with the first one, but there were definitely some points where maybe they felt like they could have done a better job. So some of the third-party games that were in the Nintendo Switch presentation were Elden Ring, Hades, Street Fighter 6, Daemon X Machina 2, which looks amazing. I played the first Daemon X Machina and I just wasn't a fan. I like games that have big mechs and things. I don't really play a whole lot of them, but sometimes I'll have a taste for them, if I have the extra coin, I have some extra time. So when the first Daemon X Machina was coming out, they released a prologue for the Nintendo Switch, and I was very excited for it. I played it, did not like it. The scope of that game was much smaller than I was expecting. The game visually just didn't look good to me, and that's not because of the limitations of the Nintendo Switch OG. It's like, to me, art style can overcome technological limitations, and for me, I just wasn't feeling the art style of that game. Like, visually, it wasn't appealing to me. Gameplay wise, it wasn't appealing to me. The scope seemed very limited, but Daemon X Machina 2 seems to be what I was hoping that the first one would be. So I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that. Like I said, it does come out in September. So yeah, that one definitely stood out to me. Split Fiction is coming to NS2, the EA Sports Games Football Club and Madden, Hogwarts Legacy, Tony Hawk Games, Hitman, which is very interesting to me that they teased some 007 stuff. So I don't know if that means that IOI is going to be making either a 007 mode for Hitman or some kind of like 007 expansion or something like that, or if that means they're going to be making a whole new 007 game. But if that's the case, there's no better person to make a 007 game than the Hitman team. Like, that is a brilliant partnership. I'm going to be keeping my eye on that. Square Enix is going to be bringing their games to the Nintendo Switch 2. They're going to be bringing Bravely Default HD Edition, which was originally a 3DS game that I never played, but apparently it's really, really good. So who knows, maybe I'll go back and I'll play it. And then also, they said that Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate is going to be coming to Nintendo Switch 2 as well. I have Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate on the PC. I don't know if there's a difference between Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate. Like, I don't understand what the extra name attached to the title means, like if it means anything, but that version is going to be coming to Nintendo Switch 2. And let me tell you, that game looks beautiful on Nintendo Switch 2. Like, Square Enix, I love you down. Girl, bring me some more Dragon Quest, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The Yakuza games are coming to Nintendo Switch 2. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment was also announced, and I do have a history with Hyrule Warriors. I played the first Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U, which I loved down. The game was poorly optimized, but I had so much fun with that game. And so when they released the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity on the Nintendo Switch, I was like, yeah, I can't wait to play this. I loved it on the Wii U. I played the demo, and like, if you think that Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U runs like garbage, it's even worse on Nintendo Switch. Like, its Age of Calamity was so bad. I played the demo, and after the first like couple of minutes, I'm like, nah, I can't. And I'm not even the kind of person who's like super picky about like, you know, high fidelity gaming and things like that. But like, I do have a standard. Like, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was not it. It was not it. But a lot of people love it. I hope that Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment runs better, because if it does run better, I will get it. But like, Bandai, is it Bandai who makes it? Bandai Namco? Or is it Koei Tecmo? I don't remember. But girl, whoever it is, fix that frame rate. Y'all was dead ass wrong for Age of Calamity. Like, I'm gonna need y'all to do better. Please. Literally begging. Another game that was talked about was Borderlands 4, Civilization 6, or was it Civilization 7? I don't know. One of the Civilization games. WW2K is coming. NBA 2K is coming. Cyberpunk is coming. And something that I learned about Cyberpunk on the Nintendo Switch 2, after the presentation, I learned that CD Projekt Red took 7 weeks to make this build of this version of Cyberpunk. And in performance mode, I think it's performance mode, they actually found a way to get it up to 40 frames per second. Of course, you can play it at a better frame rate elsewhere on different platforms, but the fact that they were able to make this build in 7 weeks and get it to run at 40 frames is actually amazing. And I'm gonna talk more about it, but like, the Nintendo Switch 2 is surprising me. It's surprising me. So that was very surprising. Y'all, another game that was talked about during the third party part of the presentation was Wild Hearts. If y'all follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky, by the way, follow me on Blue Sky. I fucking hate Twitter. Follow me on Blue Sky. But if you follow me on social media, you would know I was head over heels about Wild Hearts. So those of you guys who know me and know my gaming taste, you know that I love Dauntless when it was good. I love Dauntless when it was good. I love Monster Hunter. I love that type of game. And when Wild Hearts was coming out, I was like, this is going to be the game that is going to give me what I want Monster Hunter to give me. So the first time I played Monster Hunter was on the Wii. I played Monster Hunter Tri on the Wii. And then I played Monster Hunter Tri Ultimate or 3 Ultimate on the Wii U. And then I went on and I played Monster Hunter 4 and Generations on the Nintendo 3DS. Sorry. I even bought a new 3DS so I could play Monster Hunter. Like, I was a Monster Hunter girly for a time. But then Dauntless came out, and in my opinion, Dauntless was a lot more, I don't know, to me, Dauntless felt better to play because it was faster. I always kind of felt like I loved Monster Hunter, but I did always feel like sometimes it was a little slow. It felt a little clunky sometimes. But Dauntless was very fast. It was very kinetic. The way that you connected with people online was way more intuitive because it played more like an MMO style games where you can link up with people seamlessly. You get into somebody's servers and then you can see them in the lobby. Like, it was just so much more intuitive than the way that Capcom was doing it at the time. And apparently Capcom is still kind of, lagging behind in some ways in terms of like getting people connected online. But I still love the games, of course. I do have Monster Hunter Wilds, which I've barely been able to play because my schedule sucks, y'all. I have a busy life. But I do have Monster Hunter Wilds. I love Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster Hunter Wilds is almost like a return to form for me. But anyway and anyhow, Wild Hearts, before Monster Hunter Wilds came out, was supposed to be another game that I get into that was like a Monster Hunter game. Fast kinetic gameplay, very interesting gameplay dynamics. Like, I played the demo on my PC. Mind you, I don't have like a trash PC. It's not a high-end PC, but it's not a trash PC either. But like, that game just was not optimized. Like, no matter what I did, no matter what type of settings I put it on, I just could not play that game. That game was like 3 frames per second for me. And then I would talk to other people on the internet. Some people would have a high-end rig and the game was still not optimized. Some people had a medium tier rig like mine. It was still unoptimized. Nobody could play this game. So eventually, they kind of had to take it off the store for a little bit, if I can recall correctly. This game was so poorly unoptimized that people received refunds for getting the game. So it was very surprising to see Wild Hearts on Nintendo Switch 2. I'm very happy that it's getting a second chance. However, when I look back at the gameplay, because like when I got over my excitement and then I went back and I watched it again, I noticed that the gameplay still looks choppy. I saw a little bit of screen tearing in the trailer. Maybe it was my internet. I don't know. I just hope, and mind you, this game comes out in July. So I just hope that Omega Team was an Omega Force. I hope that they figure out how to get this game to run properly on Switch 2, because I want to try it again. It's a genuinely good game, y'all. It just runs like trash. Like, I just hope that Omega Force gets it together. I would really like for Wild Hearts to come back out and be successful in all the things. But if it's not running well, like, girl, you're just gonna have to take your L. But I appreciate you bringing it back and giving it another chance, though. I really do appreciate that. Also, a game that I'm personally interested in is Tamagotchi Plaza. I come from an era where Tamagotchi was a thing. Everybody had a Gigapet. Everybody had a Tamagotchi. I think I had one of the little ones that came with like the Happy Meals at McDonald's or something like that when I was a kid. Loved it down. My pet died all the time though. But I get to relive my Tamagotchi dreams in July. So, I'm a gamer, but I'm also a girly girl at the same time. I like a little Tamagotchi. I like me a little Hello Kitty. I like me a little Animal Crossing. I like the things. I love me a cute game. Another game that was also really surprising that they talked about at the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct was an exclusive From Software game called The Dusk Bloods. I'm gonna let that sit on y'all's tongue. Dusk Bloods. Doesn't the naming convention sound a little bit similar to another IP that was on PlayStation? Dusk Bloods, Bloodborne. From Software, exclusive game for Nintendo. Who was expecting that? Not me. But the only caveat is that apparently this game is PvP only. Apparently. I have not heard anything about it having any kind of story mode. So I know that a lot of the Soulsborne people who enjoy this genre are probably not going to pick it up, which is unfortunate because I know that people are always clamoring for a new From Software thing. Another thing that was talked about, this is going back to first party now. Masahiro Sakurai is not making Kid Icarus, y'all. My heart was broken when I saw by Masahiro Sakurai. He's making a sequel to Kirby's Air Ride. Now, it's a bittersweet moment for me because, of course, I want a new Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus Uprising on 3DS is an amazing game. I need to see that IP come back. I want the same type of gameplay. I feel like that type of gameplay suits that IP. And I think it's time for Star Fox, which also has that same type of gameplay, to evolve. But if we want an arcade rail shooter, let's keep Kid Icarus. Like, Sakurai, when you're done with Kirby Air Riders, please go back to Kid Icarus. I do not care about Smash Brothers, y'all. Like, I love me a good Smash Brothers sometimes. Smash Brothers is very nostalgic. You get to see a lot of your favorite characters. But, like, Sakurai, please make a Kid Icarus. I'm literally begging. If there has to be a Smash Brothers, let somebody else do it, please. And this is going to be controversial, but I would love it if Sakurai focused on Kid Icarus or another Nintendo IP, preferably Kid Icarus, and the ARMS developers worked with Smash, but also with Bandai Namco, because I feel like Bandai Namco has been working on Smash for long enough. They would kind of understand the standards that people expect from Smash, but the ARMS people, regardless of how you felt about ARMS, the ARMS people had a lot of really good, fresh ideas, but the execution was the issue. Feel how you feel. You know what I'm saying? Put L's in the chat. L's in the chat. If you disagree, L's in the chat. But it's my feelings. It's my thoughts. That's just what I think. How they ended the game showcase was with Donkey Kong Bonanza. And this is also a game that is made by the people who made Super Mario Odyssey. I was honestly hoping for an Odyssey sequel, but I'm okay with Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm going to be honest with you guys, though. I'm not really a platformer girly like that. I will only play a platformer if it's looking like a game of the generation type game. Like, I played Mario Odyssey. I will eventually get to Astrobot. But like for now, I'm just not a platformer girly like that. Like, I really enjoy me a good RPG. I love me a good, hunter type game, like a Monster Hunter type game, a good action adventure game. Like, that's the type of time I'm on. I play platformers every now and then, However, if we get a Diddy Kong appearance, I might fold. Out of all of the Kongs, Diddy Kong is my favorite. He's so cute. I just love him so much. And his little hat, his little shirt, like, he's just adorable. I love Diddy Kong. I feel like, I like Donkey Kong, but I don't like him like that. Like, I'm a Diddy Kong girly. And I think it probably stems from Diddy Kong Racing back on the 64. Like, ever since Diddy Kong Racing, he's always been my favorite Kong. Always. But anyway, so that ends the game segment, y'all. That was almost a 30-minute segment. So, okay. So that wraps up the game segment. Let's talk about the specs. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I know how to put a PC together. I know how to fix my PC if something is wrong. But I am not a tech expert. If you're looking for somebody to break down the technology of this thing, I'm not the girl for you. I'm just going to read back to you what they talked about in the Direct and some of the things that NVIDIA clarified after the Direct was over. So the specs of the Nintendo Switch 2 is that the Nintendo Switch 2 has a 1080p 120 hertz screen. The Nintendo Switch does have mouse mode in the Joy-Con 2. They also have an evolution of HD Rumble, which is called HD Rumble 2. The Nintendo Switch supports 4K thanks to the upgraded dock. And the Nintendo Switch has 256 gigabytes of internal storage. And according to NVIDIA, Nintendo Switch 2 is DLSS capable. I don't know which DLSS version it's using, but it is DLSS capable. It does have ray tracing. It has HDR and VRR. So, like, whenever you're playing your games, if you have a TV that's HDR capable, your colors are a lot more beautiful. Your blacks are more black. And then it has VRR, which is variable refresh rate, which it kind of makes the gameplay experience a little bit more smooth and kind of minimizes screen tear, I believe. Somebody correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. Then it also has a Tensor Core boost, which is an AI powered graphics that keeps power consumption efficient. That's according to NVIDIA. Don't kill the messenger, just according to NVIDIA. And then of course, the Nintendo Switch itself has some type of audio technology that has like this really hardcore noise cancellation feature for like the built-in mic and things like that. So that's that for the specifications. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't really understand the technical jargon, but I can see the type of products that these specifications are producing, and I'm very surprised that the Nintendo Switch 2 is as close to parity as it is. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. My expectations were very low, because in my perfect world rather, I always wanted Nintendo to allow NVIDIA to cook. I always would talk to my friends about this. Like, I just hope that for Nintendo Switch 2, this was me in the past, I hoped that Nintendo would let NVIDIA cook. Let NVIDIA do what they do. Let them help you in the places where they excel. And Nintendo did exactly that. They allowed NVIDIA to give them the technology that is going to keep the Nintendo Switch future-proofed. That is going to allow the Nintendo Switch to be as close to parity as it could possibly be, with the AI upscaling, the upgraded dock, with all of the other features that enhance the image quality and the performance of games. My prayer is that, just like with CD Projekt Red, that other developers find the Nintendo Switch 2 as easy to develop for. Because I feel like if that barrier is broken and developers can put their games on Nintendo Switch 2 and feel like their vision is still being met, that is going to make or break the way that people view Nintendo Switch 2 and its capabilities. I know for a fact that Nintendo is about to go crazy on this thing. Monolith Soft is about to go crazy on this thing. Retro Studios is about to go crazy on this thing. Next Level Games is about to go crazy on this thing. Mercury Steam about to go crazy on this thing. I hope that third-party developers do too. But as long as Nintendo allows themselves to take pointers and tips for NVIDIA, I think they're going to be okay. Okay, so let's talk about the features of this thing, all right? So the Nintendo Switch 2 is backwards compatible with software, most software, some of it is not compatible, and previous Nintendo Switch OG accessories. So your Joy-Cons still work, your Pro Controllers still work, but of course, you know, we have the new Joy-Con 2, we have the new Pro Controller that has the GL and GR buttons on the back. It has a audio jack in the controller, fucking finally, my lord. But here we are. So I'm happy about that. Also, another feature in the Nintendo Switch 2, which is something that I'm so happy about. I am so happy about this. So, game chat. Game chat is native, y'all. It's not game by game. It is a part of the system. So I could be playing Mario Kart. My friends could be playing Animal Crossing or F-Zero on the NSO app, and I could still talk to my friends. I love that. Like, I'm not really a multiplayer girly like I used to be, but I do still like to talk to my friends when I'm playing my games sometimes, you know? So it's good to know that I can still talk to my homies, whether I'm playing Xenoblade, whether I'm playing Zelda, whether I'm playing Metroid, regardless of what they're playing. That makes me feel so good. And according to Nintendo, up to 12 people can video chat, but only 4 people at a time can video chat and screen share, which I feel like is fair. Nintendo Switch 2 only has 12 gigs of RAM, I believe. So it makes sense that they want to limit who can video, who can screen share. And one thing that they also talked about is how outside of, like, you know, the noise canceling tech, which I talked about before, they also will have a Nintendo camera that will be sold separately, so that if you want to use their camera, you could use it for video chat, and also for certain games like Mario Party Jamboree, which I will be using with my niece. I will be using it with my niece. I'm so sorry. But one thing that was also revealed is that you don't have to use Nintendo's camera. You can use your own camera as long as it's a Type-C connection. So that's really good that Nintendo is not locking you into anything. Just like with storage, you can use any micro SD express card. It's not beholden to a Nintendo version or one that's specifically for Nintendo. You can use any one you want. And I feel like that is going to be a feature that a lot of people actually appreciate down the line. Did you guys know that Nintendo wanted to put chat on the OG Nintendo Switch, but they didn't have enough RAM? So they decided to do the phone app instead. And then I look back and I think about how pissed I was at the Switch app with the chat on the app. I'm just like, but the whole time they actually wanted to actually put it on the OG Switch. But honestly, it's like, I'm gonna still give them an L because they should have thought about that beforehand. Anyways, I'm happy that we have it now though. So what else did they talk about? The features. GameCube games are coming to NSO Plus expansion. I'm so happy about that. And here's some information that a lot of y'all don't know because they talked about it on the Treehouse. They didn't talk about it in the Direct itself. GameCube games in the NSO app are going to have widescreen mode, so you get to do a 16:9 image, and it's going to have an increased resolution. That's amazing. So many people have been begging for Wind Waker HD from the Wii U. They've been begging for a port. And even though the GameCube version is not the Wii U version, the fact that it still gets a resolution bump, amazing. Because that game still holds up to this day. I plan on playing F-Zero. I plan on playing Wind Waker again. I plan on playing Fire Emblem, Path of Radiance. Like, what? Come on, man. What? I'm so excited for that. I don't care if they're old games. Those are games that I really didn't get a chance to play because I didn't have a GameCube that gen. I had a PS2 instead. And by the time that I did have access to a GameCube, it was like close to like the Wii launching. So Of course, the Wii took over everybody's life during that era. But anyway, so some things that I really wanted to see from Nintendo that I did not see, I call this the hopes and dreams segment, is that there were no themes, y'all. Did y'all see that UI? Did y'all see that UI, y'all? I mean, like, I'm not gonna take points off for the UI, but it still looks the same, y'all. It's still bland. Just white. Probably just white and black. Like, hopefully they at least give us some more colors, like green, purple, pink, or something. I was hoping that they would at least give us themes, like 3DS themes, which I'm sure they didn't. I'm sure 3DS themes were like not, they didn't take up a lot of storage, a lot of data, like whatever. I hope that they at least let us use screenshots for the home menu. Anyway, I was hoping for a Miiverse return, and I didn't get it. I've been begging for Miiverse since the Wii U. Like, I love that game chat exists. I'm probably going to use game chat a lot, but I'm going to still have to message my friends on my phone. I'm going to have to message my friends on my phone and tell them to get on Nintendo Switch chat. Girl, give me Miiverse. Let me message my friends. Give me an activity feed. I feel like that is also another thing that's going to make or break Nintendo in terms of who buys third party on their system. You are not giving people an incentive to stay logged into a Nintendo system. You're not giving us a real ecosystem. The Wara Plaza and Miiverse were the first stages, I feel like, in a genuine Nintendo digital world. In the Wara Plaza, you can see your friends' Miis. Above your friends' Mii's heads, you can see what games that they're playing currently, like what games are trending. On Miiverse, you had an activity feed. You could follow all of the games that were interesting to you. When you went into each community, you could see what people were saying about the games. I've gotten so many video game tips from Miiverse. I've linked up with people on certain games because of Miiverse. I feel like if Miiverse were to come back and was actually integrated into the system, that would literally be a game changer for Nintendo. It would make people actually want to come into the ecosystem and stay in the ecosystem. Another thing that was a part of Miiverse, like the Miiverse stamps, that could have became like an achievement system for Nintendo. I personally do not care about achievements, but a lot of people do care about them. That's really my biggest gripes, is like no themes, no Miiverse, no achievements, not for me, but for the people. And just me personally, like on a personal, like selfish level, I wanted to see something Monolith Soft, y'all. Because y'all know Monolith Soft is going to eat when they get their hands on this software. If they already aren't on this hardware, they're going to eat when they get on the Nintendo Switch 2. I just know it. Another thing that I also wanted selfishly was multiplayer in Metroid Prime 4. 343 Studios and Retro Studios, they share developers all the time. Can we get some Halo influence, please? Can we get some multiplayer, please? I know a lot of people feel a certain way about multiplayer in Metroid, but like, I want it. I want a Hunter-style multiplayer. I mean, it ain't too late. People add modes all the time to games now. Like, come on. We have Silex in the game now. Silex is from Metroid Prime Hunters. Give us multiplayer retro. Stop playing with me. Literally begging. So anyway, let's talk about my overall feelings about this Nintendo Direct. So I like that we got to see new faces. We got to see the hardware people. I don't think they're game makers. I think they're more on the hardware side, if I recall correctly. But they were boring, y'all. Who's that man from the Nintendo Switch 1 reveal? I forgot that man's name. But he had so much personality. These three dudes, no, they weren't doing it for me. But luckily they didn't have a whole lot of screen time, so I can't really put too much sauce on it. But again, it's always nice to see good faces. I actually thought the pacing was good. They got right into the games. They talked right about the they delved right into the features. They talked about all the things. But I do feel like the things that they omitted actually turned out to be really controversial things later on online, which is now what I'm going to talk about. So now I'm going to talk about the pricing and the reception for the public. So some of the things that they omitted were the price. And I think that was a huge mistake, because not talking about the price led people into figuring out the price for themselves when they went to the Nintendo.com website. And of course, when they saw the price of Mario Kart, all hell broke loose. And we started getting misinformation after misinformation after misinformation. It was actually insane. I understand people being upset about an $80 game. I don't feel good about $80 games. I honestly, I'm still not on board with $70 games. But unfortunately, the gaming market has decided that we're doing $70 games now. We've already decided as a community that that's what we're willing to pay. It's unfortunate, but that's where we are. And I understand why game makers want games to be more expensive. Games are taking more manpower to make. They're taking more time to make. There's so many variables now when it comes to making games. I understand the rising prices. That don't mean I gotta like it. Because mind you, I am mainly a Nintendo and PC gamer. A lot of the games that I do buy new tend to be on Nintendo, because that's my favorite system. That's my favorite company. And I'm still in the world of $60 games. I've only bought 2 $70 games in my whole gaming experience, maybe 3. I bought Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, $70, Monster Hunter World for $70, and I think I also bought Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for $70, or maybe I got it on sale. I think when it arrived on PC, it was on sale at first, and I think I got it when it was on sale. But so basically, I've only bought 2 $70 games since this whole $70 thing has started. I'm not a fan of $70 games. I understand why they exist. When there's games that I really want, I will bite the bullet. I'm not a broke nigga, so it's like I ain't really tripping. For me, it's just like, it's one of those things. It's like, oh, you hate change. You don't want to see things rise, especially when you are invested into a hobby, you know? It's one of those type of things. But anyway, so when it was revealed that Mario Kart was $80, people began to spiral. And then they started to realize, oh my God, it's different prices in different territories. It's $90 in the UK. And then suddenly there's been this big wave of people regurgitating Nintendo Switch games are $90. Hey, did y'all hear that Nintendo Switch games are $80 digital and $90 physical? Complete lies. Just being regurgitated over and over and over and over and over. And like, I feel like with Nintendo, people have a tendency to do this. They allow themselves to be misinformed, and they allow, and I'm talking about gamers here, they allow themselves to get mad at misinformation about Nintendo, and like nothing can change their mind. Nothing can change their mind. They listen to some misinformation and they run with it. And now suddenly they're on a hate train. And I don't care if you hate Nintendo. Like what you like, don't like what you don't like. But if you don't like something, at least have the mental capacity to be mad about truthful and factual information. So I'm going to reiterate some things that are actually true information. So something that I saw running rampant is that Nintendo Switch games are $80. This is not the truth. Mario Kart World is $80, correct. It shouldn't be $80. Mind you, I'm not forgiving it. It's $80 though. It's not $90. It's $80 across the board, physical and digital. Okay? Kirby and the Forgotten Land is an $80 game according to Walmart.com. I don't know if that price is going to change or not. It probably won't, but it's currently listed for $80. And a lot of the reason why it is $80 is because it's including a $20 upgrade pack, because Kirby and the Forgotten Land has an upgraded story mode. Okay? It has story DLC and some other improvements that are not in the base game. I'm not excusing it, but that's the justification for why that is an $80 game. Same thing with Mario Party Jamboree. On the Walmart.com website, it says that Mario Party Jamboree is an $80 game because they are adding whole new content that is revolved around the game chat feature to the game. That is basically a $20 upgrade for all of the new content you're getting in Super Mario Party. Now, one thing that I do think is outrageous is that Tears of the Kingdom was already pushing it by being $70, and now it's $80 on the Walmart.com website. Nintendo, I can't justify that one, girl. I can't justify that one, girl. I don't know where that came from. It was already $70, but you charging me $80 for. You know what I mean? Like, what's up? But I do understand that the games would be, well, according to the Japanese market, the upgrade packs are supposedly about 1,000 to 2,000 yen, which I guess the exchange rate would be around about $10 to $20 in the United States. So for games like The Legend of Zelda, it would be a $10 upgrade. Metroid Prime 4 would be a $10 upgrade. I guess technically Tears of the Kingdom would have a $10 upgrade since it was previously $70. It would bump it to $80. I still don't like that, but I get it. Mario Kart being at $80 still insane to me. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is $80 because it has add-on content. Again, $80 is still insane, but I understand the reasoning behind it. All I can say is that if you already have the base games for Kirby, Zelda, Pokemon, etc., and you also have Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion, I know you at least get the Zelda games without additional cost. I'm not sure about Metroid. I'm not sure about Pokemon, but Kirby, for sure you're going to have to pay. Mario Party, you're for sure going to have to pay because they have a large quantity of new content. So I really wish that Nintendo was more clear about that, but I also need y'all to understand that some of that was misinformation. Take that for what you will. Now that you have the correct information, hopefully that is able to allow you to process like your true feelings. If you're still mad, I'm with you. If you're not mad anymore, I'm also with you. But at least have the proper information so that you can be informed as a gamer. Another part of this whole misinformation rhetoric that I've noticed is that this whole conversation about Nintendo games don't go on sale, which is adding even more fuel to the game cost of Nintendo Switch 2 games. This is a lie. I have gotten first-party Nintendo games for sale. On the eShop, mind you. Directly from Nintendo themselves. The thing that people need to understand about Nintendo games is that they do go on sale, but you're not going to see them drop in price like a lot of other first-party games do on other systems. And that's no shade. That's no shade. You're never going to find Mario Kart for $15. You might get lucky if you find Mario Kart for $40. One time I bought Mario Kart, I think this is when I bought it from my niece. I bought Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for $40 on the eShop. And I think it was Mario 10 Day when I bought it. Also, I've seen the Metroid games on sale. Sometimes the eShop will have themes, like a space theme. If it's a space theme, you might see like what's that game called? Astroneer on sale, and then Metroid Dread will be on sale right next to it. Or it'll be like you might see a particular game, and then you'll have a Xenoblade right next to it. By the way, Xenoblade games have been on sale. Like, there's been so many Nintendo games that have been on sale. I've seen Mario Kart on sale. Specifically, I've seen Mario Kart on sale. I've seen Mario RPG on sale. Mario RPG is $20 today, right now. Let's see. I've seen Mario Odyssey on sale. I've seen Luigi's Mansion games on sale. I've seen Animal Crossing go on sale. Nintendo games do go on sale. You just have to catch them at specific times and then check different retailers. And also keep in mind, you're not going to see a bump that's maybe more than 30% off. Like, you're never going to see it. But they do go on sale. They do go on sale. There's a lot of misinformation going around about not only are the prices of these games high as hell and that Nintendo don't have sales, you're also not going to have access to physical games on Nintendo Switch 2. I have heard people say that the Nintendo Switch 2 games are going to all be game keys, game key cards. People are insane. So at first I believed it because I didn't look further. You know, sometimes you see things and you have an emotional reaction. I got caught up into that and then I looked further. That is not true. Nintendo Switch 2 will have standard game cards, but developers will have an option to use a game key card. But a game key card is basically is an equivalent to having a digital code in a box. So instead of it being a digital code in a box, it's going to be an actual game card with some of the content on it, and then you have to download the rest of it on your Switch 2. And also, in terms of people using game key cards, so far I've only seen a few developers use them. I think one of the developers who's using them is Square Enix for Bravely Default HD version, I want to say. So it's not even like it's a widespread thing. So I think people are being a little bit dramatic about the game key cards. Anyway, so the last thing that I want to talk about is very painful. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really don't want to talk about this, but it's one of those things where it's unavoidable because it's going to affect all of us, whether you're a Nintendo gamer, a PlayStation gamer, an Xbox gamer, a PC gamer, all of the above. Technology head in general is going to affect everybody. So the Nintendo Switch 2 pre-order was supposed to go up. Pre-orders were supposed to go up on April the 9th, but they were delayed because Nintendo is trying to figure out how to maneuver around the current tariffs that are being proposed by the United States government right now. And this is really annoying. So to those of you guys who are living under a rock, or maybe you're not aware, a tariff is a tax that is imposed on imported goods, typically a percentage of the product's value, and it works by increasing the cost of those goods for importers, in this case being Nintendo of Japan, who may then pass those costs on to consumers, which is highly likely, and in the form of higher prices. Yep. So there's a good chance that Nintendo is not going to eat those costs, y'all. There's a good chance that I hope that Nintendo stands firm on the actual Nintendo Switch price. I think $450 is a good price. I don't care what anybody says. You're getting a handheld console for $450 made with NVIDIA's technology, mind you, which is one of the best technology on the market for DLSS. It supports up to 4K 60, 120 frames per second. Like, I think that's a good deal because the Nintendo Switch is doing basically what the PS5 is doing, but maybe just at a smaller scale. When I look at the games on the Nintendo Switch 2 in comparison to the PS5, like the base PS5, you could tell that the Nintendo Switch 2 version is not as good, but it's pretty close. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. And this is coming from somebody who's not a graphics whore. Like, I'm just not. But when you look at the Nintendo Switch version of these games, it's close enough to justify why you could become possibly a Nintendo only gamer. You have never seen Nintendo get this close to parity. Well, controversial. They got close to parity on the Wii U as well, but the unfortunate thing is that the Wii U was just a little bit too late on the market. And then by that time, the PS4 and the Xbox One had already started to, build up their marketing campaign and release and all that good stuff. But we haven't seen Nintendo this close to parity in a very, very long time. And honestly, the fact that these tariffs are coming out during a time where this could be probably one of Nintendo's most competitive systems since the GameCube, since the Super Nintendo, is very disappointing. But anyway and anyhow, L's in the chat for the U.S. government. L's in the chat. L's in the chat for the U.S. government. Thank you very much. So anyway, these are the proposed tax for these particular countries, and I'm pointing out these particular countries in general because this is where a lot of Nintendo's manufacturing is happening. So apparently for Vietnam, the tariff tax is going to go up 46%. In Taiwan, it's going to go up 32%. In Japan, it's going to go up 22%. And according to the news, Vietnam is folding thanks to imperialism. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, imperialism. This actually might work out in my favor, but still, it's kind of some whole shit at the same time. Apparently, Vietnam is folding, and they're preparing to make their country tax or their trade tax or whatever you call it go back down to 0% or go down to 0% in favor of the United States. Hopefully, that 46% either goes down, or they decide to take Vietnam out of it because they're playing ball. But I have a strong feeling that the Orange Man in Chief is gonna see Vietnam folding and use it as a way to just be a bully even further. But I want to be optimistic and hope that Vietnam folding will make that reciprocation tariff go down, because I would hate, mind you, Nintendo's not the only person who uses, or the only company who uses these companies to manufacture their materials. A lot of technology developers or manufacturers use these companies to import materials and to manufacture materials, along with China, of course. And this is just going to be bad for everybody if the government allows this to happen. But it's looking like it's going to happen. It's looking like it's going to happen. So this is a question that I have for Nintendo. Nintendo, I'm going to hold your hand as I say this. I want you to think to yourself, what would Iwata do? You gonna eat that cost? You gonna give us an ambassador program 2.0? What are we doing? Fuakara, you gonna slash your salary? Like, what's up? Because it's getting real serious. And I want my Nintendo Switch too! I want my console so bad! I want the Nintendo Switch 2 so bad. I want to play Mario Kart. I want to play Metroid. Like, girl, what y'all gonna do? What y'all gonna do? What y'all gonna do? Anyway. Anyways, y'all. That's really all I have to talk about. That's all I have to talk about. But this has been a roller coaster of emotions for me as a gamer. Of course, there's more important things happening in life. It's like the tariff shit. That's not gonna just affect gamers. Like, that's gonna affect everyday life, like food, clothing, cars, housing. That's about to affect everything, y'all. Buckle up. Take care of yourself. Take care of your families, because it's only gonna get worse. If you got to do something on the side, DoorDash, Uber, you know what I'm saying? Sell a few bricks. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Go do something legal, please. Thank you very much. But anyways, y'all, I can't think of anything else to talk about. Thank you guys so much for listening to me ramble and yap. Y'all know your girl likes to do it. Y'all be safe out here. It's getting crazy. Anyways, I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all have a good one. Goodbye.